Welcome to True Weird Wednesday. Cheers. We have a special guest. Mojo is in the house. Hey, boo boo.
Hi,
Hey, little
everybody.
man. Is he being extra like lovey and clingy and wants to sit in your lap? And
He is, yes. Yeah, he is. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
trying to corral him until his mom comes home. I,
Oh,
I'm
I
weirded out by calling a dog dad. I'm just weirded out by it.
you're a fur parent.
Okay, I
You're
guess.
the daddy of doggos.
the Schnauzer dad.
God, oh my God. Y'all, can we please talk about pets? Can we? Okay, so Larry Munson is fine. We had to get animal poison control involved because he ate my husband's vitamins, but he weighs so much and he ate so few relatively that he's fine. And animal poison control, of course, is not free.
No, I guess it's not.
Yeah. And then we have another problem right now. The lizard yeti is molting, and I thought there was something wrong with him because he sheds his skin every 3 weeks. But Heather has a leopard gecko now named Frank, and he's every 2 weeks.
Yeah, every
And I
two.
know you're going, what's it to you, girl? Like, hey, he's taking off his clothes, whatever. Because they need help sometimes, like
Yeah, they
more
do.
often than not. And I I can't add peeling a lizard to the itinerary.
I've never been so glad to have a dog in my life.
You have to
I
do these little warm water soaks with them to get
yeah,
especially on their feet. Um,
yeah.
What did they do when they were in the wild?
They were eaten by larger predators.
yeah, they
The
don't
ones
live
that
very
can't
long.
survive in the wild are pets of people like us that will put them in the salad spinner and give them a little Q-tip scrub on their teeny tiny little
You say
leopard
salad
gecko feet.
spinner. Mine is actually a large Rubbermaid Tupperware bowl that I used to use for
For
salad.
food. Yeah, yeah. I've had a chat with Karamia, who is my daughter, the owner technically in writing of the leopard gecko. And I was like, I can't believe I'm going to say this because I have never in my whole entire life rehomed a pet. But I simply cannot have 4 cats, a husband who's recovering from some medical stuff, a job that is literally 7 entire days a week. And Max, nod your head if I'm telling the truth.
You're not. You are telling the truth. Yes.
It's 7 days a week around the clock. Like, there is not 1 hour of the day where my phone doesn't ping with someone, "Hey, girl, can you do me a favor?" "Oh, I'd like to do you a favor." Um, so adding a pet that every couple of weeks has to be submerged in a warm bath while I take a Q-tip and help him shed, uncle, white flag.
Well, and
Lord, I have found my limit, and it is this reptile, and I love him. He is such a dashing, charming little gentleman. He comes running to the sound of my voice, but it's a lot. And we have a new problem. I don't know whether these animals are descending into madness or they're upset about everything that's been happening in the house, but the scarfing and barfing has become an issue. Max was going to look after them for me when I went to see my mom for a few days next month, and I realized I should stop talking if I would like that to continue.
I have taken care of the cats and the lizard before. I was so concerned about anything happening to the lizard while you were gone, like because cats I know, a lizard
Yeah.
don't know.
well,
You
at
know,
least you have me. You can send Yeti to now because I could watch him while you were traveling.
Yeah, you would know what to do. It's just like it's y'all, it's so much. It's so much. And I'm not even remotely creeped out by Yeti or feeding him live mealworms, which when I go to the pet store now, okay, this is shame spiral time. Okay, so I went to I'm not going to name the pet store. It's not PetSmart. It's a smaller pet store. I'm not going to name it because I found out that they lost their power. but I had gone to buy a little tub of mealworms for Yeti. They're live. They're packed in sawdust and they're refrigerated, and the refrigeration kind of makes them go dormant and they go to sleep. Then when you bring them out and they warm up to room temperature, they're like, "Hey, are you my new mom?" And then I put them in the lizard's mouth and he swallows them whole. So that's like a nightmare. Like that's a whole entire karmic nightmare. But that is not the point here. So I had gone to the little pet store to buy the tub of live mealworms, not knowing they'd had a power outage. And when I got them home, none of them were alive. And they were all just sort of case castings, is what it's called when the mealworms, I don't know, they shed their skin, they disappear, they get raptured. I don't know what the hell's going on with these mealworms. But anyway, there wasn't a live mealworm in there. So I was like, oh, well, bad luck for me. So I go back to the pet store, and it's the little refrigerator in the way back, and you can get crickets and dubia roaches and bloodworms and mealworms and mice, Max, like you used to have to give your girlfriend Snake.
Yes.
I'm your new little friend, and then you feed it to the snake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I decide, well, I can't make this mistake again. So I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor, and I'm opening the cartons of mealworms one by one, and kind of jostling it and poking it a bit to see if they're alive. And here comes Jared, the 16-year-old high school boy employee. And he's like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "The last time I came here, I bought all these mealworms and they were dead, and my reptile won't eat dead mealworms." And he's like, "So, like, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to make sure that I buy a container of live mealworms." Now, please look at me and know that this boy, this child, this actual literal infant is going, a crazy old witch is sitting on the floor of this store touching the worms. We all know that's what he was thinking. Please do not try to gaslight me. So and he had his name tag on. I was like, "Jared, dude, listen, I'm trying to keep this reptile alive. It's not even mine. And I need to be able to feed it quality food. And all of your worms were dead. And I'm not accusing you of anything because I realize you just work here." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, we had a power outage." I said, "So, like, everything in the refrigerator?" He goes, "Well, like, not everything. Some of it was frozen. So it didn't, like," y'all, I just said to myself, this is an experience that you're having, and you need to drink deeply from the goblet of life and have this experience with Jared, who is like a sophomore at Myers Park High School. So I said, "Well, is it a problem? Like, do you mind? Because I need to get live ones." And he goes, "No, I'll help." And then I found myself sorting through cartons of worms with someone else's boy. But we did, Heather, succeed in getting the mealworms. And let me shout out the pet store, even though I'm not going to name it because life is hard enough. Now that their power is consistently running, the mealworms are plump and delectable. But they live forever. Heather, what is the lifespan? What did we decide the lifespan of the leopard gecko was?
It's 15 years.
Oh, good heavens.
Yeah, they only live 3 in the wild. So so Sherry has it harder than I do because she has to tongue feed Yeti. My guy likes to hunt. Now crickets are hard to keep because I learned something. I had to learn all of this cricket husbandry. Where if one cricket dies in the cricket keeper, it'll kill all the other ones because they release a scent. So like he's got to take everybody else down with him if he dies. So you've got to check it morning and night to make sure that there's no dead
Lord.
crickets and remove the dead crickets so they don't kill all the crickets.
Well, Karamia told me, and now we get to the true weird part of True Weird Wednesday. Karamia told me that she was concerned about feeding Yeti live crickets because she had read on the internet that someone fed their leopard gecko a live cricket, and the gecko swallowed the cricket whole, and then the cricket ate its way through the leopard gecko's abdominal wall and emerged like the alien from the movie Aliens. Folks, I don't know if that's true or not, but it's living rent free in my head. And so there are no live crickets going into that.
Well, I can
Reptiles.
tell you that the crickets are not live when Frank swallows them because he snaps them like a crocodile.
Mm,
And they're not moving after that.
yeah. Yeti, when Heather says Yeti has to be tongue fed, that means I have to reach into the little sawdust mealworm container and pluck one out with tweezers that are about the same size as these. Where's my camera? Scissors. Um, and it's wiggling on the end of the tweezer and it curls its little body up and it looks back at me like, hey, girl, hey. And then I put the tweezer, and Max has done this, so he knows. You put the tweezer, and Yeti looks at it a little bit like, is this a worm worthy of me? And then he snaps, like you're describing, Heather, but he bites down on the tweezer and he shakes his head like a dog. Arr!
He's trying to do a death roll. They can death roll like
True.
crocodiles.
I, I, I'm thankful for all my blessings. I am. I am. So, we have some prizes tonight on True Weird
And thank you
Wednesday.
for joining us on a Wednesday.
Yeah, it's kind of random. Yeah, we have some prizes. Heather, tell everybody what we have while I take a
We've
big stiff drink.
we've got 5 True Weird Stuff mugs. Max, I think you've got a mug right there you can show the people. Yes, there it is. That fabulous mug, we've got 5 to give away. So I'll be reaching out to some commenters because every comment is an entry to win.
Yes, thank you. And I will tell you all that I had promised Max because we've had a lot going on, and Max has had a lot going on. We've talked a little bit about Mojo's health, and Max likes to, well, he doesn't like to, but now his lifestyle includes being dragged out of bed at roughly 2 o'clock in the morning in all weather to go for a long, thoughtful dog walk. Because Mojo's like, this is our time, Dad.
Let's go explore down this way. No, no, let's not go down and explore this way. Let's go back to bed.
So we've been having it's been a lot on it's just been so much on Max and Doc and on me. And we've had just a lot going on. Like, we've like just taking care of this house and my husband and the reptile. Oh my God. And Larry Munson's poisoning and just everything. Like it's just been so much. So I said to Max, I am gonna write a True Weird episode next month that is going to be just easy peasy. We're not going to have a ton of, because some of these episodes are super complicated with lots and lots and lots of sound, like that Max has to kind of craft together to build montages and sound effects, and then he has to invent some things like what does a radio transmission to Mars in 1924 sound like, right? So it's very complicated. And I spend a ton of time on research and writing, a ton of time. And then Max spends an equal amount of time on soundscaping and editing and producing it. And so some of these episodes are an incredible amount of crafting on Max's part, like the On Her Nerves episode where it was Nanny Doss, the rosy cheek grandma serial killer. Like if you listen to it, it just breezes right by. But for Max, we had 7 voice actors in that spot and a ton of historical stuff and sound effects and Max likes to in True Weird Stuff, whatever era we're in, if it's the 70s or the 1930s or the 1700s or whatever, Max likes to soundscape it to match that era. And sometimes that's harder, because it's harder to find some of those assets. And so, how many hours did you spend producing On Her Nerves?
Oh, on her nerves was good 6, 7 hours. Yeah,
Yeah.
and what I'm talking about is 6, 7 hours of doing nothing else. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I love doing it. I love the challenge of some of the stuff that we do in the last one with the devil, where I got to play the part of the devil.
That was super fun to write too.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
some of these are just so much fun to write and produce. Like some of these stories, like I'm like, I cannot wait to drop this episode. I'm so excited to share this story. This is the best story ever. How does everybody not know about this? But I have promised Max, let me write you something super duper duper easy. And so next month on True Weird Stuff, and there's a couple of voices in it that Max can do because he's an actor. But next month on True Weird Stuff, I'm going to introduce you to the Enema King, and we're going to take a little trip in time together
wow.
to learn about the history of the enema. And can I just tell you, like, I know you're going, OMG, that's so gross. No, It is fascinating. It is fascinating. And pop quiz, Max, who do you think invented the enema based on your time on True Weird Stuff? Would it be
I have no idea.
the ancient Egyptians?
Of course. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have known that. Oh,
They do everything.
Invented everything.
yeah, they did the embalming. They did everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the episode that drops this week is called The Ghost of Ed Neal. And it's a true, well, they're all true on True Weird Stuff, but it's a wild story of a cattle rustler turned killer. And the rough, and I mean rough, bad, mob ruled frontier justice that got served up by these people in this town in what you would think of as the very blandest bullseye center of the heartland. So we have that's coming up this Friday, and I said to my husband, because like he's recuperating, he's not doing anything. Like, would you like to play a dim-witted, simple-minded cattle rustler who almost got hanged for a murder he didn't commit? And he was like, sure. And so he'll be making another appearance this week.
Amazing.
I got a note from somebody that asked how do we go about putting together an episode. And so you do all the research and you write it, and then what we do is we do a raw recording of it. And then so I have the raw recording of it. So then when I go to produce it, I just do all the voice stuff. So if
like as a placeholder.
Yeah, as a placeholder, and then I clean up all the technical errors or all the false starts and all that sort of stuff. And then as I'm going through that process, I make mental notes about the kind of music that I'm going to need. Then we have a music library that we actually pay to have access to. And I go in and I start finding, I have to find adjectives to try to describe what I'm looking for. I'd love to know what the search history on some of this stuff is. Macabre.
Oh.
That's what. But then I put the last thing that I do is actually putting the music in. I do that, and the sound effects and the music are actually the last thing that I lay in there. And I'll put in pieces of music and I'll listen back and I go, no, this won't work. No, this won't work. And then finally I'll get it to the point that I'm happy with it.
Real quick, let me answer this question. Mm-hmm. Tammy Johnson, the comment should be showing for you. There's a setting on Facebook sometimes that gets auto checked where it will like hide it when you're watching a video. So if you'll look for that setting or refresh your app or page.
Yeah. When we first started True Weird, we were just doing this, like we had a vision for this podcast. We already do a wacky morning radio show. We didn't want a podcast that sounded like that with a bunch of people just going, what'd you have for lunch? I don't know, Jim, what did you have for lunch? Like we didn't want to do that. We were like, people are busy and we really want to respect their time and attention. So we want to serve them up a story. And basically every week it's a mini 30-minute documentary. I mean, it is a full 30-minute documentary, and we bend over backwards and sideways to fact check it. Now, you're always at the mercy. The past is such an interesting territory to visit because you're just at the mercy of whatever record keeping the people of the past did. And it's real half-assed. I'm going to be honest with you. And anyone that's tried to trace their family tree knows that. Like casual spellings of names and kind of like, well, we're just kind of roughly approximate birth dates and death dates, and things get wildly lost in the game of telephone that is, history. So we bend over backwards to fact check it and bring you a story that is absolutely true in some dimension of it, right?
Right.
And so for the beginning of True Weird Stuff, that's what we did. And then people started saying like, how come you guys don't ever, like, at the end of the episode, tell us about the episode? So, and we looked at each other like, do you think people want to hear that? So then we added what we call our postmortem after the end of every episode, which if you look at the podcast, it doubles the length of it. What looks like an hour-long podcast isn't. The first 30 minutes is the show, is the story, and then The next is whatever time we spend talking about it. But there's a lot of things that we have to leave out of these episodes for time purposes. And some of the stuff is not just relevant to the story, but it gives you context and details that we couldn't fit in, but that are really fun to know. And then we get to have like our own feelings and opinions about whatever the subject was, right? And our own experience and perspective on it. And some of these postmortems get really, really personal. I can't remember which episode was. It was pretty recently where I spoke very openly and candidly about what ended my marriage to my children's father.
Mhm.
I've never done that publicly. That is like at the end of every True Weird episode, we crack open the door to our personal lives in a way that we don't really anywhere else, because you can't there's a lot of things you can't really talk about on the radio. You just can't,
It just
for a
doesn't
million reasons.
do it. You need a more intimate setting, and that's what we have with that.
Yeah, so, and we don't know, like, we have no idea, if that is a thing people like, we could look at the analytics and stuff, but we don't, because we're so busy making it that we don't have time to, like, grind our gears on the data piece of it. Heather will tell us things,
Mhm.
or Tony will tell us things.
Tony will send out an email that has the most baffling set of things in it. I have no idea. I said, Tony, can you give us a class on what all this means, these numbers and whatnot? Because I can't understand any of it. So we're just concerned with making the episode. And we both thought, well, if they want to listen to us talk about it at the end, then that's great. I mean, if they don't, that's fine. But it seems like people do.
There's a lot of, like, stuff, because I'm trying to keep these episodes 25, 28, 30 minutes long, which for a lot of podcast consultants is 20 minutes too long. But bitches, I ain't doing an 8-minute story about Bonnie and Clyde. Like, I'm sorry, maybe somebody else can. I'm not here for that. But I like, and it's probably I'm a little bit on the spectrum, if we're being honest, and I'm really fixated on context and minutia. Like, I could tell you that the sky is blue, but what I really want to do is tell you why you think the sky is blue. Like,
Mhm.
I just can't stop
Well,
myself, right?
I thought it was fascinating, this last one about this haunted mansion in Ireland, how you came about finding that. You saw an epitaph on a tombstone about this priest who chased the devil out of this place.
Loftus Hall. Yeah.
And you were like, well, what's the story behind this? And it ends up, it's a great story. And it's a story that it's one of my favorite episodes that we've done. And
Well,
we
Cheryl LaRuda said, "How do you guys decide on a subject?" So, the devil himself, which is such a fun story. If you love ghost stories, this is such a good ghost story. And of course, it's, true. At least big swaths of it are, empirically true. So, I sometimes, to confirm a birth and death date, I'll go find the tombstone. And you can find graves. There's a website called Find a Grave, because if I can confirm the birth and death date, I can then go back into, like, employment or police records or whatever, and confirm that you are who I thought you were in this story. So I was looking for someone else's grave to confirm birth and death dates, and I come across this tombstone in a churchyard in County Wexford, Ireland, and the tombstone read, "Here lies Father Broaders, who prayed for all and chased the devil from Loftus Hall." And I'm looking at this and I'm going, is that like a figure of speech? I mean, what? Like, what do you mean he chased the devil from Loftus Hall? And I had heard of Loftus Hall. You watch enough paranormal crap on TV, you read enough, and you'll come across names. And I'm like, Loftus Hall, that sounds familiar. And so I was so taken with Father Broaders that I ended up diving into the Loftus Hall story. And here's the dealio. Father Broaders was a Catholic priest in Ireland who was an exorcist. And he was called to Loftus Hall by the Loftus family to perform an exorcism because they had kept the devil as a house guest. And of course, he had left his unclean, unholy, foul stench about the place. And that's how we did that episode.
How
It's really a
interesting.
fascinating story. It really is.
What so that was one of your favorites, Max. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. There were just certain things about it. Just I don't know. From a production standpoint, I really enjoyed doing that. I love the idea that there was at one point along the line you have this very dramatic moment where Satan, he gets discovered and he bolts through the ceiling, and
So exciting.
and to try to be able to create that so that you can do that with music and sound effects that people can actually see it in their mind's eye. That is one of the things that is a lot of fun to do. So I would say that that was part of it.
What
Plus, I got to play the part of the devil. So
Max got to play Satan. He was very upset that he did not get to play the giggling grandma serial killer. That
but,
part went to my sister wife Joni. Max was like, "I can make my voice sound like this. I can do it."
but I did get to play where was she, the Serbian
Baba
female,
Yaga,
Baba
yeah.
Yaga, the Serbian serial killer, the woman that was um tell me
In Yugoslavia.
is the size of the problem.
You did a hell of a job with Nikola Tesla, and you did a killer Irish brogue. Thank God Max is an actor because I don't know what we would do. Doc played in our it's Mars episode. Doc played a Martian, which was which was great fun. And in this Friday's episode, I'm so excited. So in this Friday's episode, The Ghost of Ed Neal, the case kind of so there's a lot that goes on with this case. We had a sheriff who had a town of rioting, angry people, and he knew he better land a guilty conviction and calm the town down, or there was going to be trouble. So we have a false confession in this case, and we have an 18-year-old kid who works as a clerk at a pawn shop. But this kid should have been one of the Pinkerton detectives. His powers of observation, his ballsy fearlessness, his natural curiosity. He was really wasted in the pawn business. He should have been in law enforcement. He basically breaks the case open by paying very close attention to this customer who comes in to buy some gold watches. And of course, the guy buying the gold watches turns out to be the cattle rustler turned killer. Doc plays the pawn shop clerk, and he did a
I
killer
love
job
that.
Yeah.
as he always does. In On Her Nerves, Heather played the narrator for the romance novel, the plot of which was this woman would get married, kill her husband, grieve, and then go on and marry another husband and kill him, which was the true life story of Nanny Doss, the giggling grandma serial killer.
Amazing.
I'll get in touch with Heather and I go, Heather, do you think you could do this voice? Okay, I'll try.
Well, we get a lot of people that say, I want to be a voice on True Weird Stuff. So here's the deal. It's just really simple. You have to have headphones and a microphone. So let me tell you about this microphone. I got it at Amazon.com. It was, I think, $15.99. It's Junvo, Jounvo. Okay, this microphone is so dirt cheap. It's a USB mic. It plugs into your laptop. And I watched a 2-year-old put the microphone in her mouth and chew on it for 10 minutes. And I'm here to tell you, check, check, check. It's working just fine. So, in order to do a voice part on True Weird, we need you to have a microphone and headphones. If you have that and you would like to play a part, shoot us an email to hello@BOBANDSHERI.com. But tell us a little bit about yourself, because if you're listening to this podcast, you know that we have people from of all ages, from 2 years old to 100 years old, from all parts of the United States and from other countries. And so sometimes I'll say to Max, are you telling me you don't have a single Latvian friend who's 48 years old? Not one Latvian friend, Max.
So then I'm going getting a tutorial on how to do a Latvian accent.
Yeah.
All right, here's what you do.
And I stalk all of y'all's profiles, and I've already like made notes like, oh, I'm gonna reach out to Natalie to sing on an episode of True Weird, 'cause she has this incredible big deep jazzy incredible voice. And I'm gonna reach out to so and so because I think he's from Hungary. But if you want to do it, USB microphone, headphones, and look at Matt Hardesty, who said, I have voiceover experience. I'll send an email. We sometimes need people that sound like Max has a friend named Don who was in our Unholy City episode as the cult leader. Don, it's 2024, but Don has the voice of a 1930s police captain from Detroit.
Yeah.
Like he's just got an old fashioned voice. So we're looking for all sorts of different voices. And I'm here to tell you, like, nothing would give me greater happiness than to um, have somebody participate. All the people who do voice work and True Weird Stuff are our friends and relatives right now and coworkers, all of them. My friend Stacy was in the Unholy City episode. My sister wife, my husband, and my son Zane were all in On Her Nerves and in this week's episode, The Ghost of Ed Neal. We've had Heather and Doc and Lamar. Lamar played one of Nanny Doss's husbands in the On Her Nerves episode.
Somebody asked if Bob's been on an episode. Bob has no interest in True Weird
None.
stuff. Zero. He has no interest in that. So
Can I tell you, I love Bob so much, but he does not even know what this is because it's so not anything he cares about. I've had a couple of people go, how come Bob doesn't do True Weird Stuff? Well, because he'd rather be smacked in the face.
he has no interest in this whatsoever. Because not only is this a podcast we do, this is stuff we genuinely are interested in. This is stuff that we're fascinated with and we have a real passion about it. So I mean,
we got another request. Heather, maybe you can drop it into the chat stream. It's hello@bobandsherry.com. And definitely say, hi, my name is Tammy and I'm from Scotland, okay? Because sometimes what happens is like Max's friend Don, he did a really small voice part for us a couple of months ago. And I said to Max, who was that guy that sounds like a time traveler? And Max goes, oh, that's my friend Don. I was like, if I write a really big part for him as a sex crazed, racist, bigamous cult leader, will he play it? And Max was like, I can ask. And he chewed that scenery like a boss.
he did. And you have to know Don. Don is the nicest, most laid back guy in the world. So here he is spewing all this awful racial hate and bigamous stuff. And he said, they're not going to think that I'm really doing this. And I went, no, I don't think so. I think
We made a point in the postmortem of going, listen, that is a character. That is not who Don is. But because I knew that he had that, I was able to build an entire episode around his voice. So if you email us at hello@bobandsherry.com and you're like, I'm a ballsy Irish lass with an attitude, girl, I'm going to write a whole episode for you. Okay. Because it's so much fun, even though it's extra work for Max, which is why you're getting the easy peasy enema episode, my friend. You're welcome.
how many is it 59? Is that how many we've done?
I
somewhere
think
in that
this week,
it's
let me see, I have an old school piece of paper that I've written some
didn't do
stuff down
anything to
on.
celebrate our first year of doing it. Of course,
Yeah,
Okay. So The Ghost of Ed Neal is episode 59. And then on April 5th, we are releasing our 60th episode, which tells the story of what happened when a couple of people thought that they could escape civilization and recreate the Garden of Eden.
oh, very cool.
Spoiler alert. It didn't go well.
No, it doesn't sound like it would.
Yeah, how could it?
If it did, it wouldn't be on True Weird Stuff.
Yeah, it's another one of those things where I was doing something else and something caught my eye and I went, "Wait, what is that?" And I looked at it and my eyes bugged out and I went, "No freaking way." And I went down the rabbit hole of rabbit holes and I cannot wait for y'all to hear this episode.
And
Um,
if you listen on one of the platforms, by the way, where you can rate it or leave a review, it's hugely helpful to us. If you just take a few minutes and do that, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you
Yeah.
have already done that, thank you.
And
It's,
share it with your friends on social media because we love new people.
Yeah.
It's podcasting is really hard because on the one hand, there are no rules. So your podcast is what you decide it's going to be, which is what Max and Doc and I decided this needed to be. We wanted to do it this way. We didn't want to just key the mics and riff and try to outsnark each other. We wanted to really tell you a story, like a really good story. Like you're sitting outside by the fire pit having a drink on a Friday or Saturday night story. But at the same time that there are no rules, it's like this is a passion project for us. Like this ends up costing the whole show money and time and resources because it's really difficult. There are only two categories of people in podcasting: the Joe Rogans and everybody else.
That's right.
and And like I'm a huge fan of New Heights, the Travis and Jason Kelsey podcast. They just signed a deal for $150 million, and I'm happy for them. It's a great podcast. They have managed to make football not only super relatable, but their relationship as brothers is so delightful. Their chemistry is amazing. Like they make you care about stuff that you didn't even know existed for a non-sports fan. It's a fantastic podcast. I'm thrilled for them. But Max and I, if you gave us $150, we would start to cry and go, let's just give it to Doc.
Because Doc does the little commercials that you may see on social media. He is the one who puts that together. And those things are amazing. They really are amazing. And I always look at it and go, if I was a casual person, I'd want to listen to this. So
Yeah, well, Herbert Davis said, I was just going to ask, do you make any money at all from podcasts? And the answer is we don't. Now, maybe there's some magical future moment where lightning strikes or I don't know, dot, 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 where we might. But right now, we're doing this because we just really wanted to do this.
and there are some commercials that run on it, but they're sort of so they sell the other stuff and they go, oh, by the way, we'll throw these on here. So we're not
Yeah.
really making money on them. Those are sort of the added value that go with that. Because somebody did ask me about that.
Yeah. I mean, you'll hear,
You're making
and
money.
I'm
Well,
delighted when I hear Sleep Number, JCPenney or whatever. Any revenue we have pulled in off True Weird stuff goes to pay for the cost of hosting and producing True Weird stuff because we're all doing it like just for funsies and zero regrets. This was like sometimes, no matter how much you love your day job and everything else, sometimes there's this whole part of your soul that is not being tended to. And, Max and I keep detailed logs of every Bob and Sheri show. And I know like, oh, we talked about a serial killer already this week. Like we can't we can't do we can't do the stories we want to do on the show and we can't do them in the kind of detail. And if I say to you, like somebody said they're listening to the SETI episode with astronomer Seth Shostak again. The minute I say into the mic on the show, hey, we interviewed Seth Shostak from the SETI Institute, and he says that it's an absolute given that by 2027, 2028, we'll have proof that we're not alone in the universe. That's really all I can say before the dog pile of, oh, here we go, blah, blah, blah starts. And it's just, yeah, we
but
needed more room to do that.
he's a very respected person. I mean, he's not just some kook. And there were certain things that he said that I really appreciated. One was, if the aliens are here, he said they're awfully polite. That was one thing. Yeah. And the other thing that he said is, we always worry we'll never be able to get to that level of technology because we will have destroyed ourselves by that time. And he said that they are proof that they were able to get that to that level of technology without destroying themselves. So it's a positive in there. So that's a favorite episode as well.
Hey, speaking of the European Union, SETI, the story is it was breaking all over today that they have received a signal that is coherent, repeating, intelligent, and appears to contain embedded pictures. That might be bullshit. That might be something that is just being hyped up that's about to be debunked. But I certainly give it a close look because the head of SETI told us that it was a given that in 2027 or 2028, we know for sure. My love has arrived. Say hi, everybody.
Howdy. Why does everybody always assume aliens are going to be bad?
It's not that they're going to be bad, it's that they're going to be so advanced that we will seem like interesting animals to them. And look how human beings treat interesting animals.
Yeah.
But maybe they're so evolved they wouldn't treat us that way. Maybe we're so flawed we would treat them that way. Do you see? So
We are the I mean, if you think about the movie 2001, we are the apes shaking bones at the sky. For sure. I was just telling everybody that you're playing the cattle rustler that they tried to frame for murder in this Friday's episode. So you probably have to speak up. Let me move the mic.
Well, it'll definitely be one of my favorite episodes.
we've recorded his parts. He does a great job with it. So
That's exciting. It's very exciting.
People are saying good to see you up and walking about. Yeah, he is. He's walking as a little brace now instead of a walking cast. Doing pretty good.
Do you miss the scooter?
I'm definitely keeping the scooter. I'm good on the scooter. The scooter is smooth and I can cover a lot of ground.
The scooter's so fun to zoom around the house on.
Yeah, grandchildren's bigger reason to save it.
that was an incredible surgery that you had. I mean, they just basically reconstructed your ankle. I mean, that was Sherry showed us the X-rays. Oh my God, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, well, and apparently he was pretty excited about it. So, he, the only really thing he said to me was, "Yeah, I had to use the whole hour and a half." I was like, "Well, thanks, appreciate it," because he had told me before. He said, "I'll allow an hour and a half, but I can do it in an hour."
If you all would take a moment and observe the hat my husband is wearing, please take a look at the hat my husband is wearing. That is a hat for the Bear Grease podcast, which we which we are big fans of. So Bear Grease is hosted by a guy named Clay Newcomb. He lives in Arizona, and it's just outdoor life. He's part of that Stephen Vernella Meat Eaters Network that you've seen on like the Outdoor Channel or whatever. But Clay's into mules, and he's a really good guy. And my husband is doing his part for the Bear Grease podcast here tonight.
I am actually deflated because I wore the cap exactly for I did not. I wanted to see if it was noticed. I wanted, I was as far as cross podcast stuff or something like that. I wish she hadn't said anything.
Well, I don't know how many I've talked about Bear Grease on the show. Like, I don't know how many of our listeners, my lights are really hot. I don't know how many of our listeners are into that whole like kind of like natural world, outdoor living thing. But dude, Bear Grease is a terrific podcast. It's so podcasting should be different from radio or television or audible books. Podcasting should be intimate and personal and maybe even a little rough around the edges. Like you should feel like, ooh, this creator, like this is somebody that I would like to hang out with. And I think that Clay Newcomb nails every bit of that in Bear Grease. Like, I could care less. I mean, I grew up in a hunting family. We ate game. Like, yeah, two thumbs up. But I don't want to go out in the snow and hunt things and eat squirrels. But Clay Newcomb makes you care about whether or not a squirrel belongs in a crock pot or an air fryer, right?
Yeah, all I know is when we went on, I guess it was the second RV trip. I mean, we had podcast people that were already following the podcast, Bob and Sheri podcast, a long time ago, and they would just pop out of
The woodwork.
Podunk USA on the side of the road as we were traveling. So I just they're everywhere, listeners, and I just wanted to see if we cross pollinated with Clay and Brent Reeves. He has his, which is one of his cohorts.
So Clay's friend Brent Reeves does a podcast called This Country Life. And if you're a fan of Lamar on our show, you would love This Country Life. Like one of the things about podcasting that I really believe in, because we've been podcasting since 2006, which is before you had a podcast icon on your phone, before Apple was digitally encoding podcasts. Like we've been in this for a really, really long time. And one of the values of podcasting, I think, is hyping other podcasters. Like if there's a show that you really are into, you should tell your friends about it, because I can promise you that, like, you already know how long and hard we work just to bring you some goofy story on True Weird Stuff, right? Like so much goes into it. That's true for all of these podcasters. And when you find one you love, like, don't be too cool for school. Tell people about it. Like I tell people about Bear
Appreciate it.
Grease and This Country Life because they're really good shows.
Yeah, I've reached out to some of the podcasts that I listen to, and they've responded back to me. The Sunshine Place, that one about that cult that was in California from the 60s into the 80s. The person that was the narrator, I just reached out and said, well, it was a great job. It was a wonderful podcast. And I got
The 29 Hertz, Max,
oh,
that's another
20,000,
great
yeah,
show that you listen to.
20,000 hertz. And another favorite of mine is the Side Door podcast, the Smithsonian Side Door podcast. And that's one of my favorites. I listened to the Cold Case Files. I listened to that one. And I always listen. They so what they do with the cold case, they do some that are specifically for the podcast, but then what they have done is during their downtimes, they have repurposed some of the TV shows with Bill Curtis on them. And I'm near obsessed with the way Bill Curtis says the word body.
Buddy.
It's just,
It's so dramatic.
they find in the
And
movie.
we're big fans of Imperative Entertainment, which is Sean Kipe's
Right.
podcast network, In the Red Clay. We've interviewed Sean on the Bob and Sheri show and on the Oddcast a handful of times
He
because
has
they're
a new
like,
one coming out. We'll
yeah,
talk
it's good
about.
content.
Yeah. He's really obsessive about making sure that everything is right on that, and it really comes out. And he also, not only is he narrating and doing the research on it, he is also composing the music that's used on these podcasts as well, which is kind of amazing, really.
But that's one of the things that you see in podcasters. You see, like, especially in the early days of podcasting, and we're past that now. Now we're in the era of big celebrities and big brands, right? And that's fine too. Like everything evolves. And there's always going to be a place for the small creator, the independent artist who really like has something inside they want to get out. But in the early days of podcasting, you would find these people that had day jobs as like CPAs or nurses, school teachers, oil field workers, but they had this passion inside them for something else that seemed completely random. And podcasting gave them a way to share that passion. And so you see, like somebody like Sean Kipe, he was working in the entertainment industry. You know, he was working on television shows,
Right.
movies.
He was doing oh, what do they call it when they go out and find the place?
Location scouting.
He was
He
doing
was a
location
location producer.
something for HBO, and that's how he came upon this story, realized it was a fascinating story, and decided to do In the Red Clay, which was the first podcast, and then has done subsequent ones about different kinds of crimes and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and so there he is. He's scouting locations for a TV show, but he's hearing these stories. And sometimes, like when you ask us, how do we pick a topic? I feel like we look at a million things and it's the story that like sticks in you like a splinter that you can't pull out. You're like, that's the one I have to write. And those are the episodes that you can't, like, I wake up in the middle of the night, like, oh yeah, I have to do that. Or, oh yeah, I have to talk to Max about that. Those are the episodes. The stories just are kind of like coming through you. You're like, you're channeling them.
Well, and the
Um,
thing that you always do a really good job is you find stories that nobody has heard of before. I mean, there's a lot of these that are well-worn paths with some of these stories, but you find ones that, every time you come up with, I never heard of that.
it's, you know, what's really humbling? And we talk about this a lot in the postmortems on True Weird Stuff. Like, slow your roll because you are going to be forgotten. People who have lived these extraordinary, gigantic, colorful, big lives that were woven into the fabric of history, you don't know who they are. So maybe stop trolling the people in your homeowners association and like get over yourselves. Like, let me get over myself. We are all going to be forgotten. And that was never more powerfully true for me. And I wrote about it in the Bob and Sheri newsletter this month. When Tony and I went to the Mob Museum to kill some time before flying home from Las Vegas a couple years ago, and I discovered the 47-word story of Daisy Simpson, one of the first female Treasury agents to fight bootleggers in Prohibition. And I could not, I was so obsessed with Daisy. I'm still so obsessed with Daisy Simpson that it is borderline ridiculous. What a life. And you don't know who she is. I didn't know who she was. None of us knew who she was. And yet her life was amazing. And she is part of the history of this country and completely forgotten. Those are the fun stories to tell.
Yeah, that's a fascinating story. Listen to that one. That was pretty. That was I was in. That was probably within the first 10 episodes we did last
Yeah,
year.
that was early on. Lady Hooch Hunter is the name of that
Mhm.
episode. And the thing about her was, not that long ago, you could, so this is, the beginning of Prohibition. And you could become a treasury agent or a cop or a law enforcement officer with really no professional training. And yeah, right. And in ancient Rome, by the way, all you had to do to be a doctor was announce that you were a doctor. And that was it, right? So Daisy Simpson actually was she ran away from home. She was a troubled teenager, troubled young woman who had a knack for transforming herself. And a member of the Vice Squad in San Francisco, who'd arrested her a couple of times, was like, you know what? You're on the wrong side of the law, Daisy. You have a talent. And they pulled her into the Vice Squad in the San Francisco Police Department, and that was how she was tapped to join the Treasury Department as one of only 12 female prohibition agents. That's a hell of a story, and that's just the beginning.
Yeah, that's just the beginning. I mean,
That's just the beginning.
what all she accomplished really is amazing, and she is somebody that you would think we would know about, but like you said, she's lost to history.
And so forgotten. And the thing, she was not a perfect person. She was really flawed. She struggled with addiction. Um, she could not quit that one man that she ran away from home to be with, and they did end up together.
Yeah,
She
they
was
did.
married to him when she passed away. It's a it's such a bold, ballsy, wild, badass, crazy story that will make you laugh and cheer and break your heart. And nobody knows who she is. And it makes me insane. I didn't know. And you know what? Let me slap my own face. I didn't know who she was either until I found that 47-word little plaque at the Mob Museum in Vegas. So that's where a lot of our true weird stories come from. Max and I have an encyclopedic and unhealthy and really disturbing knowledge of a lot of bad crimes. And my poor husband will be like, I'll be like, I have something for us to watch on Netflix. And he'll go, is it murder?
Sherry and I will go. The lampshades were made from human skin.
We did an episode on medical cannibalism. I was like the night before we recorded it, it was like Christmas Eve and I was 10. I couldn't even sleep. I was like, oh, medical
Tony, Tony,
cannibalism.
Tony Garcia put up the Lady Hooch Hunter, the episode that you can link into it. So there.
Y'all, when I tell you her story is so good, I'm not patting me or Max on the back like we did a great job with telling her story. Her story is just so good. You know what I mean? It's not like you should hear our version of her story. No, you should just hear her story because it's amazing. Oh my gosh. And when we did the episode last spring on the mother-daughter body snatchers out of
Oh,
Montrose, California, Colorado, oh, that was delicious. Because one of the details that was in that episode that I learned not too long ago, there was a business park, an industrial park in Las Vegas. And you know those places. You drive by them, they're basically invisible, but there's like a million little businesses in these industrial parks. So one of the businesses in this particular industrial park um, processed bodies that were being quote unquote donated for science. And so there were some reports from other people in this business park of some weird ish going on at this one location. So an investigation was launched. And the day the police arrived, they found an old dude standing with his hand in his pocket. He had one hand in his pocket, the other hand on a garden hose. He had a ball cap on because Vegas, the blistering sun. And he's just whistling a tune and he's using the garden hose. He's spraying water back and forth over a frozen corpse to defrost it so they could sell the body parts.
The crime there is the waste of water.
Such
I
in the
I
desert.
don't know if you've seen Lake Mead.
Yeah.
It's
Like
it's a little better now.
that really happened like about a minute ago. Human beings are the worst things ever, ever, ever. And what a delight to stumble across something like that. Because that old man, and the episode wasn't about him, but that old man was someone's grandpa who retired to the desert. He probably served his country with honor in the armed forces. He raised his family, and then he and his wife, her name was probably Ellen, retired to the Vegas area, like Max's parents did. And he wanted to make a few extra bucks. And there's behind you, there's a box of Kleenex. He wanted to make a few extra bucks and fill the days. So he answered an ad, probably in the newspaper because he's an old guy. He answered an ad and he took the job. And the next thing you know, he's using a garden hose to defrost a frozen cadaver. God bless the USA.
Human beings do the strangest things. And
So
just
weird.
the human brain is such a vast, confusing, weird place.
we are weird and we are savage and we're judgmental and we're violent and we're creepy and we get all like, oh, let me clutch my pearls if someone suggests any of that is true. But it's all true.
Thank God for it. We wouldn't have a podcast otherwise.
Oh, every bit of it. Yeah. So as we get ready to wrap up, because we appreciate your joining us here on a Wednesday night in the middle of the week.
Thank you.
We just want to remind you that our 59th episode, and considering that we skid into Friday nights when the episodes drop with our heads on fire. with me texting Max, I suck, I'm so sorry. And he's like, no, I suck more, I'm sorry. Right. And Doc making these amazing videos that are so good. As we skid into our 59th episode, The Ghost of Ed Neal, we're just so thankful that you listen. Next week, we have the story of the people that tried to recreate the Garden of Eden. And by the way, if you're not suspicious of anything else, be deeply suspicious of people that think they can recreate some biblical paradise, because human beings are, let me remind you, the worst and terrible and selfish and greedy and monstrous. I mean, it's unbelievable how bad we can be. That'll be that episode. So we've got the Ghost of Ed Neal and then the Garden of Eden following that. And we're just really excited for you to hear these stories. What else do you want to end with, Max?
We have mugs for sale.
Buy the mugs, yes. I think
buy the mug or win the mug.
Or win the mug,
Yeah, and let's give a big warm welcome to Lisa Renee Bug Goodwin. This is her very first time joining us for Happy Hour. Yay, she's a longtime listener.
Thank you
Welcome,
so much.
Happy Hour virgin that you are. Perhaps I'll write an episode where I throw you into a sacrificial volcano.
I've seen a lot of you going by and saying that you listen and thank you and where you're from and everything else. And I'm sorry we haven't mentioned them all, but thank you so much. I've seen every single one of them that have gone by. So we did see it. So just so you know.
And for those of you that are listening to the postmortem after the episodes, Thank you for letting us know because we really we do it and we're like, I don't know, what do you think? And Max is like, I don't know, what do you think? And then we go, Doc, what do you think? And Doc goes, I don't know.
Because a lot of times they're going to share. I go, did I make any sense in that? I don't think I made any sense. I need to just cut me out of it.
Well, sometimes even in the postmortem, like we'll fall down a pretty big rabbit hole, like
Well,
minutia in that episode. Like for example, like my hatred for the Puritans is a white hot flame. Like you could melt steel on how much I hate the freaking Puritans. And the ancient Egyptians invented everything. Like, why have the rest of us even bothered? That's basically the
that's right.
thesis.
Every episode starts with the ancient Egyptians.
Oh my God. Like, what did I'll tell you what they didn't invent? They didn't invent Wi Fi, but everything else, the ancient Egyptians got there first. And we're going to have to do an episode. I actually have a two-parter coming up about biblical giants and giant fossil remains. It's super duper complex. And I had to count on my friends, Stacy and David Robertson, to connect me with a man who has spent his life traveling the globe compiling evidence of giant human remains. So the first part will be kind of we'll set the table for the biblical giants, and the second part we're going to take a little trip around the world to look at fossil evidence. So we have a lot of like really complex stories coming up for you in the pipeline. And we're going to try to keep going until one or both of us has a nervous breakdown, which I flirted with today. Did. I did.
Sometimes it's great for us to do this in different locations, and sometimes the technology not so cooperative.
Not so good. And my nervous breakdown today was so complete and dramatic that when we signed on for True Weird Wednesday happy hour, Max held up Mojo and said, "Look, it's Mojo." The way that you might, the way you might try to distract a rampaging bull. All right. That's it for us. Next week, regular Thursday happy hour. Because of the Easter holiday, I do want to let you know that, Good Friday will be a holiday. So the People's Movie Critic is going to come on the regular show tomorrow and review Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. So we'll see. I haven't seen it yet. Max
I've
has.
seen it. I've seen it.
But look at that poker face. Look at that. Look, he's going to hold the dog up again. Oh, it's Mojo because he does not want to reveal what's really going on. So that'll be our regular show. And we wish you all thank you for joining us tonight on a Wednesday. Yeah, there it is. Mojo's my Thorazine. Anytime I'm really crazy, Max is like, look, it's Mojo. um, we really thank you for joining us tonight on a Wednesday. And we hope you have an incredible Easter holiday, however you celebrate. And I hope you enjoy that time with your family and friends. I know that I will be eating a chocolate bunny eyes first. So thank you for joining us for True Weird Happy Hour. We sure do appreciate y'all. You're the reason we're doing this. So
Yes.
thank you for listening. Because if you didn't like it, we'd stop and do something else. Like, I don't know, be better partners to our significant others and maybe the laundry. We love you. Good night. We'll see you next time.
Bye.